Welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas. I'm Dave Koch, joined by Jim Feist. We are going to take a look ahead to week 2 of the NFL preseason, plus a peek back at some of the highs and lows of week 1. Before we do that, though, first, Jim, if people subscribe to the channel, it's free, and we give them more stuff on top of that free.
Absolutely, Dave. Just go to ProlineTV.com, click on the subscribe button. You're going to get notifications on new videos that we have up. Plus, you'll get sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's ProlineTV.com.
You know, every once in a while, we've been doing this for a long time, and you know when you're feeling it, and I'm kind of feeling it right now. Got a nice little roll going. 2-1 the first week of the NFL preseason, and one of those was the Rams, which I got lucky on, and we sent it out. We sent it out early. That's part of what we do, is trying to get maximum line value. If you bet that game at 5.5 or 6, close to game time, you lost. We sent it out to all our customers at 3.5 early in the week based on the information, and it was a lucky win, but that to me is a great win because of the fact that we capitalized on getting in before the market crushed the game. It's a big part of what we do. Baseball's been going pretty well lately. You can get on board right now with me for the rest of August, NFL preseason and Major League Baseball, all for $29, toll free, 855-472-2577 on a little heater right now, so it's a good time to call. Jim, this isn't a little heater for you. 64 and 29 on the high rollers. That's going back quite a ways. 17 and 6 current run on baseball totals, and you've got a huge one, a big game of the year coming up.
That's right, Dave. My NFL preseason total of the year wins this Saturday. It's $1,000 online, but that's at jimfeist.com, or you can get it for $99 with a guarantee. You will cash, or the rest of the preseason is free on me. Call 866-546-9467. I'm on a 15-8 NFL preseason run. Sign up early and get a bonus play going tonight. My preseason total of the year cashes on Saturday, and it's guaranteed. 866-546-9467.
All right, so let's, you remember old Siskel and Ebert with the thumbs up and thumbs down?
Yes.
For those of you too young to know, the first of the popular movie review shows, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, and it was a great show, had a huge following, and they used to do thumbs up or thumbs down on the movies. We're going to do thumbs up and thumbs down on some of the week 1 performances in the National Football League. And how about this for a thumbs down? I know they won, and I was just talking about, nice way to start things in L.A. The crowd was very excited as they came back, and the third stringers beat the Cowboys' third stringers. But the Rams are looking to extend Jeff Fisher's contract, and don't you have to win something first? Thumbs down.
Well, let's look at his record. I don't know what the story is with Jeff Fisher, and he seems like a really likable guy, and I know he knows football. He's played football. But his record is really bad compared to other coaches that are given jobs. Most of the guys, if they lose 2-3 years, or they're just average or marginal, they lose their jobs. This guy's been, I think he's had one, I'm not 100% sure of this, one winning season. One winning season in the last 13 or 14 years, and he's usually 7 or 9 or 8 and 8. That is not, and then they come out they weren't really prepared well. They came back, like you said, they beat the third string defense. Mannion looked really, really good.
He did, but again, it was against guys that aren't going to play in the NFL.
But I kind of like that guy. I think he has a lot of talent. I think he'll be around.
He also won a quarterback accuracy competition and got I think $100 for most accurate something. And I watched Hard Knocks last night.
$100?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they play big stakes.
Oh yeah. 27-36-1.
Yeah.
With the Rams.
Right.
Okay. So I don't have any problems with him still being the coach, but I'm not so sure I'd be talking extension right now. Let's see if they can make a run. Just make a run at a playoff spot. Do something positive this year in their new surroundings. Then you want to talk contract extension at the end of the year, fine. But I don't see the point of doing it this early, and I'm with you. I think it's a thumbs down move.
I don't think they're going to have a very good season. I mean, look at who they have to fight out there. I mean, they might beat San Francisco, but they're against Seattle and Arizona in that division. this is going to be maybe a 6-win year for them. I couldn't see it getting much more than that.
I can't either, not realistically.
They're not really strong at quarterback. I mean,
No.
you know, the Goff.
They're not the worst team in the division, but
No, they're not the worst team because of San Francisco.
the gap between the top two and the bottom two in that division seems to be pretty substantial.
A monster.
Let's talk about the Bears. Now, obviously, Week 1 was a thumbs down, a big thumbs down. That was a very bad performance against the Denver Broncos. Here's an interesting, and we're going to look more at the Week 2 stuff later on, but there's a really good system that applies this week. And we talked about this before we started taping. Neither one of us are going to play the game.
No, because it just we can't trust what they're doing up there.
I didn't see, if you look on paper, okay, just on paper, you saw Cutler, Hoyer. Hoyer's a good backup.
Great backup.
Okay. It's not the worst team I've ever seen on paper, but boy, they just don't have any. I mean, I know it's Week 1 of the preseason, but for crying out loud, you got the Super Bowl champions coming to town. And
well, plus
Cutler's on the
Cutler
sideline.
and Fox were both fired by that team or gotten rid of.
Yes.
And you would think the motivation would be, I mean, they looked flat.
That's the thing. There's no
Flat.
There's no excitement on the side, and that's the.
Well, you're not going to get excitement from Cutler anytime.
No, but give me some. This is the beauty of NFL Network. I love NFL Network. Why? Because you get to watch all the preseason games. So I don't care if they're on tape or not. I don't need to know. I don't need to be sitting there in suspense to get information. In fact, I'd rather watch games on tape sometimes because then my whole focus is on trying to learn something. And what I learned about the Bears last week is that they are about the deadest team I've ever seen for Week 1. I mean, show some life.
I mean, were they gearing up to play New England this week? I mean, they just play. I don't know what motivates this club. It's a very confusing situation with Chicago. You know, I said that San Francisco and the Browns were the two worst teams in football, but the way the Bears look, you got to throw them in the mix.
Yep. All right. Let's and we know he's got a little illness issue. Bruce Arians, hopefully he's going to be fine for the Arizona Cardinals.
He was taken to the hospital because he had stomach pains.
Right. And he's had some issues with that before. Okay. So, you know, let's hope everything's okay with Coach Arians, who, you know, terrific
They did
guy.
release him from the hospital,
Yes,
though.
yes. But he's got sometimes he goes over the top and it affects everything else. No, they get blown out by Oakland. But I'm still going to go thumbs up off what I saw of the guys who matter on the Arizona Cardinals. Their numbers got skewed because Matt Barkley, I think it's over, okay? Even for August, 8 for 24 is just horrific. He looked really bad. I thought they're real guys that were out there looked fine.
They're a championship quality team. They have a lot of talent on that team. My biggest question about this team is Palmer. Not that he can't play football or isn't really a really good football player, but he's kind of fragile, and he's getting a little up in years. A couple wrong hits here and there, they could be in a lot of trouble.
Do you read anything out of, I mean, is there any loss of confidence in him among his teammates after a really bad game in the playoffs?
Well, I thought he had two bad games.
Yeah.
The one before they lost. He looked terrible. I think he choked. I think the game got too big for him. I don't know why, because he's got a really good background. So that kind of came out of nowhere. I think it shocked us all that it was that bad. Yeah, I think the other guys on the team they're not going to get to that position until they start playing some really good competition, namely Seattle, because they got to overcome them.
Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on them?
Right. Can I go sideways?
Ah, yes. Yeah.
The team they played, though, last week.
The Raiders.
That's a thumbs up for me. I like the talent. I like the coaching. I like the direction. Now, can they overcome a game in Mexico? Can they overcome 5 trips to the East Coast during the regular season? I don't know about that. That's a lot. I think it's very unfair type of scheduling.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But nevertheless, if we're going sideways in Arizona, I think we're in agreement. Thumbs up on the Raiders.
Totally thumbs up.
All right. If you've got a question that you want to ask us that pertains to sports wagering here in the state of Nevada, I think it's fair to say we're somewhat authorities on the subject by this time. Go to ProlineTV.com, drop us a question. It doesn't cost anything. And speaking of not costing anything, be sure to hit that subscribe button to also get 7 days of action free.
Absolutely. Plus, go to jimfeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, podcasts, my free fast facts, which are going to make a lot of money during the football season, and plays from the nation's top handicappers.
All right, time for us to take a look at some NFL Week 2 preseason games. Okay, well, here we go. Let's talk some NFL, and we'll begin with the Pittsburgh Steelers at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. And we are seeing some line movement taking place in this game, and I believe we can explain the reasons why.
Yes, we're seeing movement on the underdog. The 3.5s are pretty well disappeared, except unless you want to pay extra juice for it. And the 40.5s or 41s are disappearing as well. So the money is coming in on Philadelphia and the under. And it is very explainable because Pittsburgh doesn't put a lot of effort. Tomlin doesn't really care. They have some people that aren't going to be in the lineup. And Philadelphia, with the new coach there, looks like they're going to put into a little bit more effort. And I think the marketplace is reading that. And that's why the line makes sense.
Okay. And I'm basically giving away a play here, but I want to tell you that this is, again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, part of the job of a personal service, and this is where it differs from online, because online you generally can't get games until the day of the game. And by that time, and that's where most online buyers don't buy until the day of the game, even if the information is available before that. Personal service customers get this stuff right away. I gave my customers the Eagles yesterday. The reason why? I got out in front on the information. It's not that it was inside information. It's not inside information, but I know where to look for this stuff and got it early. Pittsburgh, Big Ben, no. Williams, no. Bell, no. Antonio Brown, no. They're not playing, okay? Pouncey's going to get on the field this week. But when you got all those skill position guys sitting and not playing at all, it's an indication that they're not game planning. They're just evaluating. And Tomlin's pretty much said that. Eagles, their coach come out yesterday and says, well, we're going to play the regulars at least the first quarter and hopefully into the second quarter. When you are told by the coach, now, he's not coming out and saying, we're out there to win. He's not saying that, but you can read between the lines. When you have the regulars out there in week 2 for possibly into the second quarter, they are game planning to some extent. And that's what edges in preseason are about, is finding a team that's game planning against a team that probably isn't. Won't win every time, but it's a clear edge.
No question. Peterson is the new coach there for Philadelphia. A lot of times, many times, not 100% of the time, but many times you'll get a new coach trying to come in and establish a positive attitude with the other players. Hey, I can coach. You need to respect me and follow me. They will anyway because they're getting paid, but it makes a difference if they can produce winners. Not only for the fans to buy tickets and support the club, but the players to say, hey, this guy, he might actually know what he's talking about. I mean, if we ever played sports, sometimes the coach, if he doesn't, instill confidence in him, you won't really follow him. So they're looking to expand their wide receiver situation. They weren't happy with it in the first game. They went out and got another player. Not sure that'll make a difference, but you can see where he's going. And he's definitely has more interest in winning these games and establishing a winning attitude than Tomlin does, who basically has been there for a long time.
Tomlin's prepping for week 1.
Right, he's prepping for week 1. He might show a little bit in week 3 because that's what a lot of these guys do. They won't do anything in week 4, and then you're talking about week 1, and they're a favorite on the road against Washington in week 1. So there's a lot, and Washington won the division, their division. So it's not a soft schedule to start. Philadelphia knows they're probably going to be in a tough spot if Dallas recovers from some of the injuries and suspensions. And he's a new head coach that needs to establish quickly in order to compete in that division. So a lot of money is going to go in that direction because it's smart money.
Let's talk about now. These two coaches seem to like the preseason in terms of setting a tone and winning. Seahawks, well, they didn't play well last week, but they found a way to win the game. On the last play of the game, they get the Hail Mary and beat the Chiefs 17-16. Vikings, they came out and played pretty well last week. And Mike Zimmer, in his 2+ seasons as the head coach of the Vikings, says
he has been
to this point in time seems to be putting at least some importance on gaining some preseason momentum.
8-2 straight up and against the spread in preseason.
Now that could change because the team is better now than it was previously. And as teams get stronger in the preseason, sometimes the coaches start to put less stress on winning those football games. And always, again, these are no hard and fast rules. Zimmer's a pretty intense guy, so he might just want to win all the time, period. Kind of like Pete Carroll, who also likes to win all the time, period. So that makes this a difficult game for me to read because I think Seattle probably wants to get a little more than they did out of the first unit last week, which wasn't great.
They didn't deserve to win that game.
No, they
lost
lucky.
59 minutes out of the 60 in that game, which brings us to another point that we're going to talk about. I don't know if we're talking about Kansas City this week or not, but going back,
the trends.
We can go to one of the trends that we have. Let's go there. Kansas City 0-13
in week 2.
In week 2
against the spread.
Yes,
because they did win week 2.
Let me tell you why that doesn't make sense at this point. Kansas City was 4-0 straight up last year in the preseason.
Right.
Kansas City won 59 out of the first 60 minutes against Seattle last week, but they didn't win and they didn't cover. So you look at that and you say, okay, that maybe they're a go against this week. But that would have made 5 straight wins for Andy Reid, who never cared about preseason games in the past. But sometimes people change. Situations changes. Now, he actually should have won 5 in a row had he not gotten the last minute beat. Going forward, we have to question that stat of 0-13 week 2.
Well, I question a lot of them. This is why I'm not dismissing all trends, but I need to know why trends work. If there's not an explanation for why it works, then to me it's just something random that can turn around just as quickly. And you look at some of the trends out there. Here's one: the Dolphins are 9-1 in week 2 of the preseason against the spread the last 10 years. None of those were with this coach. So to me, you can throw that out. That's a meaningless stat to me.
I totally agree.
Because I have no idea what this coach's approach is going to be from one preseason week to the next, let alone from one preseason seasons to the next.
But there is one stat right below that. If you look at the Pats over 6-0, that's Belichick.
Well, and then he's got his starting quarterback, at least for the first 4 games.
Right.
He's going to be on the field for a good percentage of this game, I'm assuming most of the first half.
This is where, like Dave said, it has to make sense for you to follow the trend. Will the trend continue with the current situation? Well, let's look at a situation where you have injuries and you got offensive line injuries. The quarterback can't go back and drop back because he's going to get killed. He won't be there for third. All of this stuff has to be, you can't just follow these kind of trends. But when something makes sense, like the Pats over, well, he keeps his offense on.
It's not a reason enough to.
No, I'm not going to bet it. I'm not going to bet it.
But it is something to at least factor into the equation when you're breaking down the game.
Just put it into your equation.
Right.
Now, the interesting part about that is one of the books, they opened 41, it's up to 41.5. Another book is 40.5 over 24. So they are betting that over.
But I don't think they're betting it because here's why I think they're betting it, and I'm not going to bet it because that total just for me is too high in the preseason. But the Bears have to show something more than they showed last week on offense, and I think that bettors are recognizing that.
The only team that got shut out last week.
That's embarrassing. And Garoppolo looked good, and the Patriots have to do some things that are going to get him ready for the regular season. So I think from a logical standpoint, I can side with those playing the over in the game. I'm just not going to do it myself.
Gronkowski did leave the field the other day with an injury, so you wonder, will Belichick even use him? Is he available? I don't think we know that today.
I wouldn't take any chances with him.
Well, I wouldn't take. A lot of the coaches are saying, "Hey, we don't care about these games. Why should we get these players hurt? On the other side of the fence, they have to actually get them in action because, for those of you who don't know, there's a collective bargaining agreement out there that says you can only practice in pads so many days, you can only practice so many hours, you can only do this. Well, the teams aren't being prepared properly for the regular season, so the coaches are forced to do some things that they wouldn't otherwise have to do because of that agreement, which to me is, I think, is totally stupid. But I don't want to hold back on how I feel.
No,
but,
it's true. Listen, we just talked about some games where you can make a case that we gave out a pretty good free play here on the show, which we hope wins for you. You can get free plays from us right to your cell phone every day, and nothing could be easier, Jim.
That's right. Just text the game, the word game, GAME, to 25827. You'll get a free play sent right to your cell phone. That's game, GAME, to 25827.
All right, we're going to continue with some weekend NFL Week 2 battles, and we're going to start with the Jets heading to the Redskins. We got a couple of football games we're going to look at this weekend. We teased this one a moment ago, Jets and Skins, and not going well for Geno Smith. He was really bad last week and got booed. And reading some camp reports, it didn't get any better in practice early this week. He was struggling. It was seen slamming his helmet to the ground in frustration. I think, and I know look, he's not going to be the quarterback there. Now that they signed Fitzpatrick, they drafted Hackenberg, who at some point is going to get on the field anyway, and we'll see what he can do. They've got Bryce Petty, who's probably never going to be an NFL regular, but they got to cut Geno Smith. It's that simple. They have to cut him. And I think, from my way of thinking, don't prolong the inevitable, because all that can do is start to poison your team. I think they needed to get him out of there in the first set of cuts.
Well, I agree with you. It seems like when you go back to the incident where the money issue and all the punches and all that stuff going on, the clubhouse problem?
Yep.
And that's not good for a team. Anytime you have somebody on the team that's kind of poison or toxic in the locker room, it really carries onto the field. Now, they don't have a real good situation at the quarterback position. I mean,
they don't.
The guys backing up Fitzpatrick are not solid, including Geno. And then Fitzpatrick, he's up in years too, and he really hasn't had a full camp. He missed the OTAs. He comes in late, got a nice contract, but they're not in real good shape. Cutting Geno really leaves them bare, but they need to do it.
To me, it's addition by subtraction.
This is not
Let him go get.
This is not a good organization, Dave. It's not. This is an organization at the top that's destructive.
The longer they keep him around, not only could it damage the chemistry on the team, which is already tenuous, I believe.
Yep.
But it also almost is going to send the message that, because everybody, whether they like Geno Smith or not, the other players is immaterial. What they want to see is that, let him go someplace else and try and get a job. If you keep him around till the end of training camp and then dump him, that's not really fair to Geno Smith.
Well, I don't think they care about being fair.
I don't.
They don't care.
When players start to feel that the front office is, on a different plateau than they are, it's not a good thing. I think the Jets have, on paper, the second best team in that division, behind, obviously, New England. I'm not so sure they're going to be that way in the field. I think Todd Bowles is really got his work cut out from keeping this team on the same page, and we'll see how that breaks down. Now, the other team here is the Washington Redskins, and it's a completely different situation because they overachieved last year in the minds of many by winning the division.
Yeah, they did.
But you know what? All that's done is energize them. It's a whole different scene now. Daniel Snyder has taken more of a back seat than he used to. He's letting the football people run the show, and it's a better organization than it's ever been since he took them over.
Gruden has done a good job.
Yep.
They definitely had a break last year with Philadelphia going down, Giants collapsing, and Dallas having a multitude of injuries. They had a break. They won the division. They played well. They got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, of course, but because they're not really that strong on the field. But they're competitive. But this Jet team, this is a mess. And I I really don't like the organization. I don't like the way they handled the Fitzpatrick negotiation. Based on all the money that's out there for quarterbacks, even marginal guys.
They knew they were going to have to pay him.
Here's a guy they should have had in camp. They should have had the OTAs. This is a very bad organization at the top, which is why you never see them actually win.
I believe that's true. Look, nobody believed Geno Smith was going to go into the season as the starting quarterback, okay? Now, the other team, again, before we switch to the next game, Washington, remember, they their first unit did not play well last week.
No.
They were barely on the field, but they didn't have a good early game against Atlanta. They were way down in that game. They made the score respectable late. I think Gruden might want a little more out of them this week. So I'm leaning Redskins, although I don't think I'm going to play the game.
I can't lay 3.5 in a preseason game with a marginal offense. 3.5 and 40 is the number. No movement. However, there aren't a lot of tickets written, but 76% of the tickets are on the underdog Jets, which is, you're going to normally see that, especially anytime you see a 3 or higher, you're going to see the dog get a lot of tickets. But that's the way it is in preseason.
Giants are taking on the Bills. Some interesting stuff to talk about in this game. Eli Manning was actually displeased that he did not get on the field last week. He wants to get out there and take some hits, feel like it's football season. So he's definitely going to be on the field this week for the Giants. Interesting thing from Buddy, obviously not Buddy, but Rex Ryan, who admitted that when he was with the Jets, he coached that preseason game with the Giants harder than the other ones because he wanted to beat the Giants. So I don't know if that still holds true now that he's the coach of the Bills, but I suspect it probably does.
Well, they were sharing a stadium and everything, and they were in New York. He's got all the New York media. I don't really think it matters going forward. I think he has to worry about his job because this guy is not a successful head coach. I kind of like him. I think all the players like him. He's a nice guy.
Let's go get some blanket snacks.
But he's not a head coach. And now bring the brother in. Defensive coordinator. Dallas, boom. Thumbs down. We do the thumbs down thing. New Orleans, down.
Way down.
Now, and look at what happened last year before Rob got there. The defense for the Bills went from 4th in the league to 24th or 28th. I'm not sure.
28th against the pass. They were very good against the run.
This is going to be I'm predicting the Bills.
No, I get that backwards, by the way. It was the Bills' offense was 28th. They were the number 1 rushing team. I got mixed up.
Okay, that's okay. You're allowed.
It happens at my age.
Okay. I don't like the Bills. I don't think they're going to do well this season in their division. And the Giants are a much better football team, very explosive on offense. But this is a preseason game, so you have to take that all with a grain of salt. But you're looking at the Bills open 2, went up to 3 in some spots, but actually 90% of the places now have 2.5. So it's still there, and 40 is the total. I don't see any.
I'm not going to play this
right
game.
Now.
I don't.
If I played it, I'd play the Giants. Just because.
Yeah, I think I would as
better.
Well. And I think Eli might want to go out there and have a good drive just to get that under his belt.
And you have a new coach there.
Yeah.
You got a new coach, moved up from offensive coordinator to head coach. Tom, what's his name? Tom
Coughlin.
Coughlin is gone, and McAdoo wants to make some.
I would agree with that.
Some impressive moves.
Not enough for me to play it.
No,
but
not at this moment. But that is a Saturday game, and we might change our mind.
All right, that's fair enough. All right, what else do we want to talk about here? Oh, I know. Here it is. I've got notes in front of me. See, I'm actually following a semi-script here. And what it says is, if you want to get free plays each day on a recorded message from our Vegas experts, well, you call 888-478-9222. That's 888-478-9222.
And you can actually follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jim Feist Sports. And feel free to send me a direct message with any questions that you might have. We're willing to talk about anything you want to talk about, and you'll find out about our products and services.
And you can follow me at Dave Koken, which is, interestingly enough, the same as my name. Weird. All right, so thanks for joining us. And that's it. We're ending on a very high note here. Smooth as silk. We'll see you next week on Proline.